a line, you need an m, which is our slope, and a b, which is our y-intercept. Because remember, the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b, like we talked about yesterday. The slope formula, if you need to find the slope of something, is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, that's the same as the rate of change formula. That's what the slope is. It's a rate of change that we did at the end of third marking period. For a point to lie on a line, it must satisfy the equation, which means make it true. You're going to substitute your points into the equation. Remember, points are always listed x comma y. You can enter the equation into your graphing calculator and see if the point is in the table, or you can graph the line and check to see if the line goes through the point. So it depends on what they give you for the problem, how we're going to follow it up. So let's start with number 11. It says write the equation of the line of the given points. So we want to write an equation of the line. I'm going to slide this over so you guys can see that side a little bit more. Is y equals mx plus b. And we need our m and we need our b. Well, in order to find our m, we have a formula for that. So I'm going to use my slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, just label your points, x1, y1, x2, y2, and you can plug them into your formula. So my y2 is 6, my y1 is 2, my x2 is 5, and my x1 is 3. If I do 6 minus 2, I get 4. 5 minus 3, I get 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So when I go to my equation, y equals mx plus b, I now have an m to plug in. So I have y equals 2x plus b. So all I have left to find now is that b. Well, nicely, they give you 2 points up here. You can choose either point to substitute in for x and y. I'm just going to choose my first point. So my y is a 2. I leave my m. My x is a 3 plus b. If you would have chosen this point, you're going to get the same b value regardless. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus b. We're solving for b, so I want to subtract 6 from both sides. 2 minus 6 is negative 4 equals b. So I now have an m and a b to write with my equation. Y equals 2x minus 4. That is your equation of the line. So number 13, let's go through the same thing. I'm just going to try and slide this up without dropping the phone. So again, label your points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Write out your formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. My y2 is a negative 14 minus my y1 is 1. My x2 is 3 minus my x1 of 0. Be careful with the negatives here. Use your calculator if you need to. Negative 14 minus 1 is a negative 15. 3 minus 0 is 3. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. So this is my m for my equation. So y equals mx plus b. I'm going to fill my m in, which was negative 5x plus b. Pick either one of your points. It does not matter. I'm going to pick the first one because there's not a negative and there's a 0 there, so it should be easy. So my y is 1, negative 5 times my x is 0 plus b. Negative 5 times 0 is just 0, so I get 1 equals b. So I have my b value. So when I write my equation, can you see that? Nope, I'll put it up a little bit higher. So y equals negative 5x plus 1. That is the equation of a line. So that's 11 and 13. If we look at the next page, it tells you determine if the given point is on the line. So all we're doing is checking to see if this point, 3, negative 7, is on this line. There's multiple different ways you can do this. I'm actually going to show you a couple between 15 and 17. The first way that we listed on the front of the page was just to plug in. Remember, this is x, this is y. So I'm going to plug them in for x and y in my equation. So -7 equals -3 times 3 plus 2. There's no work to do over here, so it's just -7. You can type this as is in your calculator. So I'm going to get my calculator out. So we have -3 times 3 plus 2. Hit enter, and you get -7. -7 equals -7. So yes, the point is on the line. They sometimes ask you to show the work, so you'd have to do it that way if they asked you algebraically. Another way you can do it in your calculator, you can go to y equals. You can put this equation in there, so -3x plus 2, and then go to your table. It's a blue key, so second table, and you want to look through your x's. Look for 3 as an x value. What is the y value with it? -7. So 3, -7 is a point on that line. If we went to 3 and -7 wasn't there, then that wouldn't have been a point, and this wouldn't have been yes either. So let's look at number 17. Again, x, y. So 1 equals 2 times 3 minus 3. There's no work to do over here. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 3 is 3. Does 1 equal 3? No. So no, the point is not on the line. I'm going to show you in here what would happen. So I'm going to go back to y equals, clear that out. So I have 2x minus 3. Again, hit the blue key, second table, and I'm going to look for an x value of 3. Oh, and the x value is 3, 3. That's not what's there, so no, that is not a point. I'm going to read the steps below, but then we have to go to the next page to do the problem because we're going to do number 19 together. It says, remember, when finding the x-intercept, we know that y is 0. This is extra important when it comes to some of the Regents questions. When finding the y-intercept, we know that x is 0. So whichever intercept you're finding, the other letter is 0. If finding them on a graph, just read them from right where it crosses the axis. So number 19, we're reading right on a graph. It came out a little blurry, but if I look for my x-intercept, remember this is my x-axis here. I'm looking at it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's at -4, and it's an x-intercept, so I know my x value, and my y value is 0. When we're looking for our y-intercept, we're reading the y-axis. Remember, this is your y-axis. 1, 2, 3. We're down at -3, but that's my y value is -3. When it's a y-intercept, I know my x is 0. Sometimes they will just say x equals -4 and y equals -3, but the proper way to state an intercept, I'll slide that over so you can see them. The proper way to read an intercept is as a point. Last one for today, number 21. So they're giving you an equation. So this is where knowing that x equals 0 and y equals 0 will help. So when I'm finding my x-intercept, I know y is 0. So I'm going to take my equation and I'm going to plug 0 in for y. So 5 divided by 2x minus 1. I'm going to add 1 to both sides of the equation. I get 1 equals 5 divided by 2 times x. Remember, you just divide by the 5 over 2. So in your calculator, you're going to do 1 divided by, and then remember it's alpha y equals, enter for the fraction, 5 over 2, and hit enter. And we get 2 over 5 as our answer. So x equals 2 over 5. You can leave that as a fraction. That is absolutely fine. So I'm going to write this as 2 over 5, comma, 0. as my point. Now I still need to find my y-intercept. When I'm finding my y-intercept, I know that x is equal to 0. So I'm going to take my equation. I'm plugging 0 in for x though. So y, sorry my dog just hit the desk and move that. Y equals 5 over 2 times 0 minus 1. Anything times 0 is 0, so I'm left with negative 1. Finding the y-intercept is a little bit easier. So remember, my x value was 0, my y value is negative 1. So those are your answers for your x and your y-intercept. So you just need to do for homework numbers 10 through 20 even.